Hello, everybody, and good morning. This is Dave Fanale with Real Estate Talk-TGIF. This is episode 87. And we all know what TGIF stands for, don't we?
I do.
Right? Thank God it's finale. That's right. This is episode 87. We've done 86 weeks in a row. We had an extra episode. And just so you all know, we had a mystery guest set up for today, and there were some logistics issues, and we're going to do a special broadcast of that mystery guest, special live broadcast on Tuesday, which I believe is February 25th, and that will be Tuesday sometime. We'll do an announcement of that. But I want to thank my friend, my colleague, my business associate, Antonio Frattalone, for coming on a moment's notice to keep our situation and our consistency going, stay within integrity here, which is extremely important that everyone, I hope, gets out of something that I do at least. And Antonio Frattalone, just a great guy coming on, the protection specialist. Antonio, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Dave. Let's go. Let's grow.
Absolutely. Let's go. Let's grow. So you call yourself the protection specialist. You do an awful lot of things in the financial markets. And talk to us about first of all, I need to know what you do. And then I want you to backtrack as to your story and how you came to do this.
Sure thing. I can't see you, but I know you can see me, correct?
Yes, I can see you, and so can everybody else. We're going to double check. Let me see, connect the camera. There we go. Oh, nope, we didn't need that. I'm going to make sure that we're live. If anybody can see us, please comment. We are live. You can't see me. I'm sorry you can't, but we are live on Facebook right now.
All right. So they call me the protection specialist because my focus is on downside protection. Most people in the financial service industry focus on upside potential. And I'm a little bit of the ugly duckling. I'm a little bit of the outcaster because I don't focus on wealth management. I focus on real estate. So when you're in that space, you could make a lot of money very quickly. And also what could happen is you could have a large tax liability overnight. So what I focus on is tax strategies having to do with real estate entrepreneurs using insurance in the tax code.
So, all right. So how did you get to doing this? I mean, I think I'm a couple of years older than you, and I've been around a little longer than you have. So talking about your background and where you came from.
Okay. Well, I got into this kind of by accident. I didn't really want to get into the financial services industry. I had a need for financial planning at a point in my life where I had people in my family who got sick, passed away, and I was left holding the bag, so to speak. I was a young guy. I worked in the cellular industry in retail. I managed stores for a guy who we went from 4 locations to 40 by the time I transitioned out of that industry. And I realized that I didn't own that business and I couldn't leave it to my family. So the only advice he ever gave me was, Antonio, hire a financial advisor and keep buying real estate, which I did. And it led me here. When my grandmother, who was like my mother, she passed away. She didn't have a will in place. She didn't have life insurance. I was a high income producer. I figured I could just write a check, and that's all there is to it. And I realized that there was a lot of moving wheels when something like this happens in a family. The year after that, my father was diagnosed with cancer. And at that point, not only just taking over his bills, not only seeing that he didn't have his finances in order, he also didn't have a will, he also did not have life insurance. I also saw the expenses that come along with somebody who's diagnosed with a terminal illness that are not covered by medical insurance. And I learned what long-term care was. And I learned that if you have assets, they're going to come after those assets before they help you. And me not being educated in that space and going through that experience, me and my wife with children and real estate, we decided we had a lot more to lose and we needed to educate ourselves. So that's when my journey began, on just educating myself on how I can take better care of my family and make sure that the things that I do today, they benefit from tomorrow, and start my legacy planning. And I interviewed, I want to say, 46 different financial advisors and insurance agents before I realized that every single one of them couldn't have the best company. Every single one of them couldn't have the best product. And every single one of them couldn't make me a billionaire. But the only thing they had in common was that they were all full of shit. So I got licensed and I started doing my own planning.
So, all right. So, talk to me about they're all full of shit, because people look at this stuff and they look at, I'm sorry, sometimes they look at your industry and same with, I mean, just with real estate too, we're worse probably, with trepidation and cynicism and skepticism.
Well, I'm the most skeptical person there is, and when it comes to your money, you should be skeptical of who you work with, because that's it's a very personal thing to reveal what your finances, what your financial situation, or I should say your relationship with money, because that's what it all comes down to, is that we all have a relationship with money. We have baggage. We have luggage, like when you go into a new relationship with a person, when you go into a new relationship with somebody on a professional financial team, then you're bringing that baggage with you. And I mean, all I can really say to that is that most people in financial services are supposed to be fiduciaries, and I don't see how they could be if they work for one particular company, or if they're a captive agent. They might have good intention and they might want to help people and they may have even a good cause. But if they're limited to the products that they can show or the solutions that they can offer because of the company that they have, not every company is the best at everything. And you can't be the best at everything. So that's why I choose to work with different financial institutions, different CPA firms, different attorneys in different spaces. And I'm able to really bring solutions individually for my client and be a real fiduciary.
Understood. So the thing about Real Estate Talk TGIF, this broadcast I do every week, is that I like to bring forth people that have different things to offer. And you and I have connected through really a real estate agent's need to be careful about their money, to plan for themselves, to have buckets, so to speak, et cetera. So talk to me a bit about what disadvantages and advantages real estate agents have, and how some of the stuff that you talk about can help them.
Well, being a real estate agent, you're really an entrepreneur. You're running your own business. And the key element to running your own business is, like Saku always talks about, and you always talk about, is having those buckets, so that this way, when it rains, the buckets get filled up. And when it rains, you don't have to run around looking for a fucking bucket, which is what most agents do. 20% of real estate agents and brokers are making money and doing well, and the other 80% are either new or failing. And there's a reason for that. They don't set up their financial architecture appropriately. Tax season comes and they don't have the money to pay their taxes because they didn't put a separate account, or they don't have a separate bucket for that money. People who are doing flips, they're doing all these flips. They're taking on these big, these big tax liabilities, and they're continuously trying to purchase more property. But at the end of the year, they don't have their money for their taxes because there's a lot of capital gain. They have strategies like 1031 exchange for more advanced, investors. They'll take a bulk of what they're making. They'll take the money from one property, put it into the other property, and that'll defer your taxes, which is great to defer your taxes. But the strategies that we use eliminate the taxes. Instead of having a specific time period to run around and try to find a piece of property to put that money into, that maybe you didn't really want to buy. Because let's face it, all the prices are really high right now. So if you have property that you want to unload, this is a great time to unload it. But for the person who's purchasing the property, for me right now, I'm looking for a 4 or 5 family anywhere between Elizabeth and Fairfield, New Jersey. And everything that I find is at retail price. Nobody wants to give any equity. The market's up right now. I'm waiting for everything to go on sale. Okay, right. When stuff goes on, I can buy it with a little equity in it, or I know that the market's going to shoot back up. But if I was to sell right now, I'd have to run and find something to move my money into to defer my tax. I don't want to do that. So right now, if I had a piece of property, which I'm actually considering, I'm considering selling a piece of property I have in Staten Island. If I do that, I'm going to use a strategy called the 1031 exchange alternative rather than a 1031 exchange. And what that's going to do is going to allow me to keep my money in this tax-free environment until I find a property that's appropriate for my strategy or for what I want to do, rather than having to just buy something because I have a specific amount of time to buy it.
So what's the best strategy for a real estate agent to invest their money and or save their money? Look, everybody talks about how much they're making, and I rarely hear anybody talk about how much they're keeping.
I mean, that's the thing, man. You can make $1 million this year, but if you don't keep any of it, what good was it? It's not. It's easier to make money than to keep it.
Right. Exactly. So
And,
when we talk about the different systems and stuff for real estate agents to save their money, how should they divide it up? Is there a
well,
percentage that you use?
there's a an answer that I typically give when I get questions like that, and the answer is it depends, because everybody has a different financial landscaping. Everybody has a different situation. Some people may have cash in the bank. Some people may be doing really good with flipping. Some agents out there may be at the top and the peak of their career and have and have the ability to save, and some of them may want to only put it back into real estate. So depending on what your goals are, I could sit down with you and I can create a plan based on what you want to do, and then we can figure out what the best strategy is. But at the end of the day, what do you need in your plan if you're involved in real estate at all? You need liquidity, right?
Yes.
You need, which means access to the money, so that this way, if you wanted to purchase another piece of property, you'd be able to do so. You need a great tax plan, and you need the appropriate amount of insurance to make sure that you're transferring your risk to a larger company. And people don't like to pay premium for insurance. People don't like to put their money where it needs to be because they have an idea, and everybody thinks that my next deal, and you know what? Who knows if your next deal is going to happen? And if your next deal, God forbid, it doesn't happen, where does that leave you and your family today? So most financial advisors or people in my space, they kind of play on that what if, and they kind of play on the fear. So rather than do that, what I do is I design my plans with complete liquidity, so that this way you can continue purchasing real estate and achieve your goals. And to be honest with you, the reason most advisors don't do that is because, number one, they either don't know how, or number two, they know that they're going to make a lot less money doing it that way. And everybody's in this business to make money. I got in this business to help myself and my family. It just turned into a business. I had my real estate holdings that paid all my bills while I transitioned into it, so I didn't run around with commission breath. And that allowed me to grow a huge network of professionals that can help anybody plan for their future in a way that most advisors wouldn't be able to.
So let's transition from that over to assets and investments, right? Real estate agents. Like, one of the things you talked about or alluded to earlier was they don't know if that check is going to come. And they say, I'll do it with my
Right.
next check. I
Right.
hear that in my business all the time. Says, yeah, when I get my next check, I'm going to call you. We'll sign up and stuff.
Correct.
Most of the time, while the heart's in the right place, that's never going to happen, right? And in your position, you're trying to make sure that they have a life beyond real estate, more or less. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And most people involved in real estate, whether you're a real estate agent or a real estate investor, really I call it real estate entrepreneurship. Regardless of what you're doing, you're involved with real estate. You have an idea of a better life than most people. Okay. Which is why I don't want to say I stay clear of wealth management, but within wealth management, everybody's the smartest guy in the room. Everybody has all these credentials. I am a life insurance agent. I sell life insurance, disability, and I help people with their taxes based on the relationships that I have. You know that I partner with lots of different firms. I am partnered with Cornerstone Financial, who does 3-2-1 and done with Frank Dipple. You guys can come and see me at the table. I think we're doing it the 27th. And by the way, that's going to be the last one that we do for free. I don't know if you knew that, but they won't be free moving forward. So if you can make it out to 3-2-1 and done on the 27th, you definitely should come and take advantage of that. But with that being said, different companies and different firms are able to address different issues, which is why I partner with a lot of different professionals.
So in other words, one could call you to appoint a matchmaker for financial wellness. Would that make sense?
I'm a huge advocate for financial literacy, so you could say that. At the end of the day, I'm a real estate investor. I got involved with the financial services industry, and I teach people what I do for my own family and my clients that I have over the years. And I share that with you. And sometimes the strategy that I bring to the table might not work originally or right off the gate. So then we go to another strategy and we find what does work for you. So a lot of the time, especially with the eliminating the capital gains tax, it's not the right strategy for everybody. Some people may need to do a 1031 exchange, and I'll be the first one to say, no, this isn't the right strategy for you. Let me introduce you to somebody who can give you what you need.
Well, you just said 1031 exchange, right? And that really is the real tax animal. And I'm going to use animal in so many different ways here for someone if they have an investment, a property, to get rid of the one property, but they've got to go buy another one of like kind and dollar, right? So that's a methodology to move from investment to investment, correct?
Correct.
So are there any alternatives to the 1031 exchange? Like say, a guy just doesn't want to have a building anymore, but he doesn't want to go to paying the government that capital gains, and whether, because here, people watching from all over the country here, but here in New Jersey, it's another, aside from your federal government 20% or whatever it is another 8% on the state, and that happens in a lot of different states. So is there a vehicle to make that work a little bit better or no?
There are vehicles, and those are one of the things that we focus on, especially right now. Like we said before, all the prices are up, and people are scared that they're going to buy something that they don't want. You also mentioned like for like, with the strategy that we use, and I know you're alluding for me to say the name of the strategy. The name that you're looking for is Charitable LLC. The Charitable LLC is typically it's typically by CPAs. They think we're talking about charitable remainder trust, okay? And there's a big difference between the two, because when you use a trust, you're losing control of the asset in a lot of cases, and there's some restrictions. And that may be the right strategy for somebody to do if your CPA is familiar with the charitable remainder trust. If they're not, they could reach out to me, and I can walk them through the process and see if they have any clients that are that could fit that strategy. However, the LLC gives you the things we talked about before. It gives you control of the asset, and it also gives you liquidity. One thing, if you guys follow the tax code, and guys, this is not tax advice. I am not a CPA. I'm not a CFP, okay, but I do work with many CPAs and many CFPs. As a matter of fact, if you have a CPA or an attorney who needs credits, we actually do classes, and by coming to one of our classes, explaining these strategies to them, they can get their continued education credits. So if you want to inbox me about that, you could look like a superhero to your CPA by getting them some free credits. But getting back to the strategy, you also mentioned like for like. Now, when you're doing a 1031 exchange, you have to purchase another piece of real estate. When you use a strategy like we're talking about here and create that tax-free environment where the money can sit there, you could essentially purchase anything that you want with that money. You could purchase another business. You could purchase other investments. We could do this strategy with stocks. We could do it with any asset. I just personally love using real estate because that's the space that I'm in, and it's the most highly depreciated asset, and it just works really well with real estate.
All right. So in other words, the point we're both making here is that there are other avenues to save that capital gains, and all legal, all by the tax code, plain and simple, period, at the end with that, right? Right?
Correct. And going back to the tax code and the changes, these are things that, if you're working with a CPA or a tax professional or a financial advisor, they should be keeping you up to date with. There is so many things. I mean, they got rid of pretty much everything that you could deduct as a business owner in the last few years. The one thing that they did not get rid of, and I don't believe will ever go away, is charitable contributions. And charitable contributions do something for people that the government not necessarily don't want to help, but it takes a liability away from the government. So with that being said, why would they ever take that away?
Exactly. So let's shift gears a little bit here and talk about the real estate agent. So we've said a couple of times that real estate agent has a business like this, right? Up and down, up and down. But then you get to a point where they start really focusing on their business and deciding to really move forward. And they're starting to have a business that's growing, right? What's the first thing? Maybe it's not real estate, but maybe it's something else. What's the first thing that they can do to protect their money and keep more?
Asset protection. They need. So here's a statement I'm going to make. It's a super bold statement. If you're working because you have to and not because you want to, you need to have disability insurance.
Disability insurance. But Antonio,
Yes.
I don't have the money for that. I've got these other bills to pay. I've got checks coming in regularly, but that's a lot of money, isn't it?
So, Dave, what you're saying is that you're struggling to live on 100% of your income right now?
Well, it's growing, but it's like, how much money is that going to cost me? That disability.
But today you're struggling to get by just on 100% of your income. You're saying that you're having a hard time. You're
Not
worried about the
struggling, but I
cost
don't
of.
want to change my lifestyle.
You don't want to change your lifestyle. So it's not necessarily you can't afford it. It's that you're not willing to make the sacrifices that you need to make to become successful. Here's what I have to say. Most companies, and this doesn't, listen, if you're a real estate agent, you probably have a W-2 job. You probably haven't taken that full dive yet. If you did take the full dive, now you have no disability insurance from your job. You have no life insurance. In a lot of cases, they don't even have health insurance. And I'm sitting there saying, we got to get you some health insurance, because saving for tomorrow means absolutely nothing if you get financially wiped out today. If you got $200,000 in the bank or less than $200,000 in the bank, and you get diagnosed with a critical or chronic illness, or you get hurt and you have a surgery and you can't go out and do showings, or you can't go out and earn income, right now your income is your most valuable asset. So what we use disability insurance for is income protection. We're able to insure your income. So if you get hurt, you get sick, you can't produce, or for whatever reason, you're whatever you're diagnosed with, you're not able to work for a long period of time, you could still have income coming in. Now, you talked about affordability. The best thing to do is to have a disability, to have a health insurance, to have a long-term care, to have a life policy. But I have found a way to be able to merge most of those things together, 3 out of the 4, in one plan that's affordable, where you could have benefits attached to, let's say, a life insurance policy that gives you long-term care riders, gives you disability-like riders. So if you get hurt or you get sick, you could pull from the death benefit and you could use that to pay your bills, pay your mortgage, and continue your lifestyle that you were so worried about before, the way that you're doing today.
Wait a minute. You said that if I get sick, I can get death benefits?
Absolutely. I just paid out last month. I paid out a no, not last month. I'm sorry. In December, we paid out a $50,000 claim on a life insurance policy because I had a client who had a tumor removed. It was stage 1 cancer. Not a big deal. They removed it right away. He was out of work. He couldn't work. He's in construction, and so he couldn't go on jobs. So he called me up and said, "Hey, listen, I remember you told me I had those living benefits. This is the situation that happened. I want to make a claim and see if I can get any money because I can't work for the next however many months." And we made the claim, and he got a check. He got 50 grand out of his death benefit. He still has an $800,000 policy because the way that we had it set up, he had money that he was saving, and he had money that he had going towards these benefits, so that this way, if something like this happened, he'd be able to pull some money out. Buckets.
That's really cool. I mean, that in and of itself really, I think is really beneficial to most people on here. So, but here's the one question that goes along with that is that how long do you have to be putting money into that account? I mean, how many years did he pay into that life insurance policy for him to have value in order to do that?
Well, there's a 2-year contestability period on any insurance policy. However, in a case where they do the investigation and you didn't lie on the application, I encourage, regardless if you do business with me or any other agent who thinks they're slick and maybe lie on an application, the insurance company is going to contest it, and you're not going to get paid out if you lie on the application. So if you've had a pre-existing condition or you had a history of something in your family, I would say be completely transparent when you're filling out the application. Take the rating that you're supposed to get so that this way you have the coverage that you need and that is going to benefit you in the future. You think that $50,000 claim is cool? The year before, I had a client that paid out $1.2 million because he had a heart attack. Now, shit, I don't want to have a heart attack, but if I do, I wouldn't mind walking away with $1.2 million. And guess what? It was tax-free.
So, was his life insurance policy over $1 million?
His policy was 1.5 million, which is the cap on the living benefits. He decided not to take the full 1.5 because a heart attack is up there in on the claim chart. So he would have been able to take the entire amount if he wanted to. I think up to 80. He took 80% of it. I don't remember the exact, but I have the paperwork to show anybody if they want to see a copy of the check. I just had to write his name out. They wouldn't let me do a video with him, but I wanted to do a video with him so he could tell his story. But regardless, he had 1.5 million. He took 1.2 or a little bit under 1.2, and he left the other 300. By the way, this was a term life insurance policy, and I challenge you to find a term life insurance policy, unless you're going through one of my firms or with my company, that will give you these benefits. And I'm talking about critical injury like heart attack, stroke, paralysis, severe burns, if you know any firemen out there, cancer. These are all riders that are attached in the critical injury, and critical illness is out there, but not critical injury. And the critical illness that's out there with some of the top companies is only on permanent policies. So for somebody who's in the real estate field, this is a great way to be able to get the benefits that you want at a very low cost, and they're convertible into permanent policies in the future. So when the things that we were talking about before come into play, and you have property in your portfolio, and you have a large a tax problem, listen, having a tax problem is better than not having a tax problem. That means you're making money, right? So when you're at that point in your career, you're able to convert this type of a plan into that type of 1031 exchange alternative plan, or into that infinite banking strategy, or in that charitable contribution plan, whatever it is that we come up with for you to support and create that legacy for your family. It's convertible, so you can get in right now for pennies and have a plan that's going to protect you, your family, and your assets.
Well, this has been really some great information. I want everybody to know that I have a lot of different people on my broadcast, and I just don't have them on to have them on, right? So everyone that has been on my broadcast, I am either involved with or have been influenced by what they've had to say, what books they've read, books they've written and stuff. Antonio and I are working together now, for me personally, as well as the other people I work with. So I am here not only as someone that's going to interview and have a conversation with Antonio. It's also that I'm a potential client. I am also working together with him to build his business and my business. So, Antonio, how do people get in touch with you if they're interested in talking further about life insurance and all these other things?
Well, if you're watching this, you're able to see my name on Facebook. Just click it and shoot me a message. Put TGIF so I know where you came from. I do get a lot of friend requests, and I don't accept everybody. I'm not one of those guys that just accept everybody and have, a lot of people on my Facebook. I'm more of a little bit more of a private person. I am outspoken, but I am private. And when I say that, I mean I want people with intention. I want people who, when they see my content and they see my speaking engagements and they take a look at my workshops and the work that I do with people, they actually have an interest in it. They have deeply rooted relationships. I don't want just random people who really don't give a shit about what I'm talking about on my page. And I have a huge professional network. I don't typically I do cross promote. I cross promote, and I promote all the people, just like you, Dave. Anybody that I work with, I promote their businesses, and I help their businesses grow. So a lot of the time on my social media, you'll see me talking with other real estate investors. You'll see me talking with other people who are entrepreneurs, sometimes in different spaces, but most of the time the content is going to be based around real estate and helping you grow your business, not so much exactly what I do or about insurance or things of that nature, but you could always reach out to me and we could have a one-on-one conversation. I'd be happy to see if I could assist you with your tax planning or any of your insurance needs.
So you spoke earlier about this thing 321 and done that you're going to be at next Thursday night, February 27th. Talk to me, real briefly about that, and it's with our friend Frank Dippold, and Frank has been on this broadcast before. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Okay, well, this is an experience that, whether you're already invested in the real estate market or you're looking to get into the real estate market, or you're a homeowner or you're not a homeowner, it's a valuable workshop to come to. He talks about purchasing $1 million worth of real estate with only $40,000 or less, and building your retirement plan based on your rental income. So Cornerstone Financial and is one of my largest partners in New Jersey, and Frank and Robert Belcour, who pretty much sponsor and run the whole event. They've been together for however many years. Rob was actually in real estate before the whole crash happened, before he turned into financial services agencies, and we've been working like this and not even realizing it for a very long time. And we linked up in Hawaii at a producer group in the last year or so, and we had a conversation and decided to merge and create something big. We want to reach more people. It's all about financial literacy. Everybody has their own space and their own niche.
Right.
Mine's is the real estate space, and some people, have different. Like I have another partner who does college funding. I have another partner who does Social Security workshops. I have another partner who does special needs planning. I'm not an expert in those space, so we collaborate together to bring the audience the literacy that they need, because in real estate what I've found is that somebody who's investing in real estate may have a spouse that's involved with one of these other things, and it just kind of all ties together. For me, real estate is the center of the universe. 3-2-1 and done I believe it's going to be the last time you get it for free.
I'll be
It
there.
is, right? Yeah, this is the last time. So if you go to my page, you could see the Eventbrite is on there. It's in the comments of the post that I just put up. I don't know, today or yesterday. You got to check it out, man. I mean, if you want to you don't want me to get into the strategy of it. No, just I mean,
event like next Thursday night, and like I said, there's people all over the country watching this, but this is it's going to be in Jersey City, New Jersey, at the Westin, correct?
Correct.
And that's going to start. What time does that start? 7?
7:00.
Yep. Great. Well, Antonio,
click the link and register and get yourself over to that event. If you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me after the event, I'll be at the Cornerstone table. Also, I'm going to shout out Public House 46. The day before this event, we're doing a real estate mixer at Public House 46. And anybody who's involved with real estate trades, real estate agents, wholesalers, bring your deals. We're going to have a little bit of mic time, a little bit of education, a free buffet, and a drink ticket at the door if you mention the protection specialist.
That sounds really cool. That sounds really great. Well, Antonio, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and you came on at a moment's notice. I appreciate that. We had a mystery guest scheduled for today, who has been rescheduled till Tuesday. More details coming on that. But the one question we always like to ask at the end of our broadcast is, how can we help you, and how can I help you grow your business?
You could help me grow my business by connecting me with like-minded individuals who want to eliminate their capital gains tax.
Awesome, and that we will do. Everybody, I want to thank everybody for coming. This has been Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 87. 88's coming up. That's the best number in the world, 88. That's coming up next week. And we've got not only the mystery guest, but we also have another guest for next Friday. Antonio, thank you once again. Please stay on for a second. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. It is February 21st, and I am on location again in Florida, in Orlando. And I want to thank Mickey for having me. Well, we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.
Antonio Frattalone, the protection specialist.
There you go.
Remember to protect what matters most.